Alright, so um, now that we've got the blend shapes added, we're going to go ahead and get this to animate with the mesh. So we have all of our controls complete. We've got some facial controls on here that we've added. I've only got the eyebrow, but I would go ahead and have done a ton more, as I showed you with the last example of the completed version over here. For anyone new watching, so I've got all of my controls here that control everything on the face, and I would do all of these blend shapes before I bind. And to give you an idea of how many blend shapes I created to get that, they're all here. I don't know, probably about 50 or so, not really sure. So now that I've got my blend shapes here, and my controls all complete, now I'm ready to bind the mesh to, or in this case meshes, because I've got more than one, to the actual joints. So I'm going to select all of my meshes, and I'm going to now select the foot mesh, and from here I'm going to finally shift select the root control, or the root joint, and I'm going to go to skin, bind skin, and you'll see I had a little error pop up, but I don't know why that was. Shouldn't have. Everything's working fine. So you'll see that your mesh actually now animates, and you're getting some weird pull and tug and things like that in other areas, but for the most part this thing is working extremely well right off the bat. Now, one of the things we need to do after that is we want to go ahead and create we need to customize the skin weights. So I'll do the arm and like the leg to start with, and the arm, this is always the toughest part. Right underneath the armpit in the rib cage area, we get a ton of like insetting here into the mesh that should not be happening. So in order to fix that, you got to go to skin again, and this is under the rigging tab, and go to paint skin weights. And now with the mesh selected, you'll see I'm going to go to my L shoulder, and I can begin to fix this a bit. So I've got multiple different tools down here. I have replace, add, scale, and smooth. The only ones we'll really focus on is smooth and replace. And also holding control will invert your selection when clicking. So right now I have replace. If I go to add, you'll see I'm getting pull, and if I hold control while I do that, I get the mesh sort of restoring itself back to its original shape because I'm not affecting those vertices. Now what I want to do is I actually just want to go ahead and run a smooth, and you can adjust the opacity down here in this settings box. And this is really important to know how to do this, because this is how you get your meshes to animate, and otherwise it's just a plain statue, and if you don't get the correct deformation, it looks really, really bad. And we're going to want to fix all those areas that you're getting some strange deformation in. So when you get something that looks pretty good, like so, I mean, it's good enough for now. I'm getting some good bend in the arm at least. And other areas, not just the shoulder, will be affecting this. So if I go ahead and check my clavicle, I can switch to my replace, and I can hold control because I want it to affect less area. Go ahead and do that. And if you have it all on one mesh, you won't have to switch meshes. So like my clavicle also affects my shoulder and my neck area here, and probably parts of the head. One of the parts I know that gets affected drastically is the head. Usually you'll see I'm rotating here and I'm getting some really weird stretching. Now how to fix this, you see this whole face just totally like stretched off of the original shape. It's kind of funny looking. And what we'll do here is we'll switch to our back to our paint skin weights tool, and we'll locate the head control, or this neck 4, which is actually the back of the skull. And what I'll do is on a replace, I'm going to keep everything at 100% down here, or at 1, and this should fix it right off the bat, and you'll see that the face is actually starting to take back to its regular shape that it should be looking, without all that weird stretching and just squashing and just weirdness. So this will fix that, no problem, and it's just because I got to adjust the skin weights manually. There is the best results you get. They don't even have, they used to have a whole bunch of other types of ways to bind skin. They still have the interactive bind skin, so I guess they still have a couple ways, but they used to have the smooth bind, and then I think another bind that was just regular bind. So they had smooth bind, interactive skin bind, or interactive smooth bind. They had like 3 or 4 different bind tools. I found the most useful and most effective right off the bat being the smooth bind, which seems to be, now they just got rid of smooth and just call it bind skin. So it's starting to take much more shape. It actually looks pretty normal now. So now other tools to other joints we need to worry about. Make sure you get inside of the mouth area too if you have this little pocket sitting there. Something like the jaw. It doesn't really have anything right now except on the neck, and I don't want my jaw controller to affect my neck at all, so I'm going to run a replace and hold control to invert my selection and kind of get rid of that. And now I'm going to actually go in and paint in the skin weights on the jaw. So I want the jaw to be controlled, the jaw joint, to affect these vertices around the jaw area. And you'll get something like this at the end. So I'm just doing a first rough pass here, and that should be good. And I'll probably want to, if you have a mouth pocket area, most of you don't, but if you do, I would strongly recommend remembering the inside of the mouth. Okay, so there's that, and then you'll notice you'll get some areas that you accidentally selected through the mesh, so just go ahead and run an invert there, hold control, replace these, okay, hold control, and now I'll go ahead and add some more, and I'm just simply trying to deselect some of these areas. So now that I've got a decent rough pass on it, I'll go ahead and adjust the controller here, and now I'll reselect my mesh. Now that I'll have an easier way to deselect some of these vertices using the paint weights tool, and I'll go ahead and just start doing that. And now I get something like this. And you'll see his mouth is open. It's working perfectly fine. Go ahead, move it around, and you'll notice I'm still actually getting pull from the come on, what is going on with this mouse? Pull from the chest area, so I need to make sure if you have multiple meshes to select the mesh that is getting that pull. Make sure you're on the jaw joint in this case, and then just go ahead and get rid of that, holding control. So now we've got the bind working pretty well. So going to go ahead and zero these out, and this is a really repetitive process. You're just adjusting the skin weights until it starts to look okay. You can just notice here the chest was getting pulled from areas up here in the head. And then I'll do one more on the foot where I bring up my leg, something like this. You'll see the back area here, right above the buttocks, starting getting some strange pull in this region. So we need to adjust that. I'll do a rough pass again, and you'll see I'm getting a really thinned out knee section here with some super huge thighs. That could definitely use some adjusting. So I'll go ahead and select my paint weights tool, go through, and under my left hip, I'll start to make some adjustments. You'll see that the chest, or the body part of the mesh, is also getting pulled from that area, as well as the belt and the belt loops. So go through, select here. I'm going to hold control again, deselect some of those verts, go to the belt, or the belt. I'll go to the belt first and then the belt loops. Hold control, and you see this really big stretch on the texture here. So that's another reason to customize your go make sure that you customize your paint weights, your skin weights, because otherwise you'll get some weird stretching in your textures. Now I'll do the belt loops and the left hip. I'm going to just go ahead and make sure I get all those, and you'll see they go right back into place, and you're not getting any of that weird stretching. I'm holding control and clicking, and no weird deformation. And this one's a little bit more tricky because there's so many more meshes involved. And now I'll go back to the pants and start to smooth that out. So I can select my smooth tool, go through, start to smooth out some of these areas. And in the leg, I'm going to probably just get rid of some of this, and that's not working. Maybe add a little bit. And I'll adjust my opacity on here, and I'll fix that, and that'll be that. So now I've got a pretty good rough pass on here, and that will conclude painting weights for the time being. I'll post up another one later, or later this week or so. But you follow this process throughout the entire thing, and then you just zero out your controls when you want to go back to your bind pose. So that's about it. Thanks for watching.